Hello, hello, hello. Hey, y'all. I hope you guys are doing awesome. Um, I'm sorry that I am late. I am. I am late. I decided that I was gonna lay down for a few minutes and take a nap, and a little bit longer of a nap than I wanted. So I I wanted to go over all of the different notes that took place over the last 3 days of hearings, because it was really quite a bit to absorb. So I'm gonna say hello. Hi, something to say, music, Just Deb, Judge Jessica, Big Fish, Small Ponds. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. All right. So I guess I'll have to say this is gonna probably be a really long live if anybody is wanting to know. Um it's gonna be long, it's gonna be going. All right. So all right. There I am. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start with July 30th. State of Indiana versus Richard Allen. Um, so of course we all know who was there as far as the attorneys go. You have Rosie Baldwin, you have uh Auger, McLeland Luttrell, Diener. As far as the family goes, you had um, Micah, Becky, Patty, Tara, Amanda, Mr. and Mrs. Erskine, Kelsey, uh, Carrie, um, Liberty's one of Libby's sisters, um, everybody that you need to have there or whatever. This first day was the first day that Gull was totally late. Um, I even have in my notes says 10:15. Do you know where Gull is? Yeah, because she was super duper late. Um, so yeah, so we didn't get started until a little after 11 o'clock. They brought um Richard Allen to the courtroom. Excuse me. And Mr. Allen basically kind of sits in his chair, he sits up, he's looking at the stained glass above the skylights. And Judge Gold finally gets in there. Um and so basically she wants to get started and she wants to talk about how the proceedings are going to run over the next 3 days. So she talks about that day um, they were there to do the vacating of the safekeeping order, to dismiss sanctions, um, motion to suppress, you know, Yeah, vacate safekeeping order, dismiss sanctions, motion to suppress, motion to dismiss, laying out smooth scheduling for the next 3 days. Um, and then they were, obviously the motion to vacate the safekeeping order. So the first to go up on the stand. Hi, Miss Veronica. Hi, Aaron. It's good to see you. So the first witness to go up on the stand, obviously, we know was Tony Liot. He was a Carroll County sheriff for he's been the Carroll County sheriff for a year and a half, and he was not the sheriff when Richard Allen was arrested. Um, so almost immediately they talk about when Richard Allen was picked up. Um, he went to the Carroll County jail for one night, and then he went from the Carroll County jail to the White County facility, and then from there he went to uh, RDC, and then from RDC he went to Westfield. So basically, like, he was like put in very, very quickly, like into the Department of Corrections. Like the safekeeping order was like signed almost damn near like immediately. Uh so like that was really interesting. Hi, Mother of Dragons, it's nice to see you. Um oh my goodness. So like I said, his custody was relinquished to the Department of Corrections almost immediately. Um, so he was shipped to Westfield, and also he was placed in solitary confinement like almost immediately, is what they were saying. So like he was absolutely like just separated from everybody else. Um, it's a solitary confinement awareness and deposition for the summer of 2023. Um, so there was, the question that was brought up to Liggett was, are you aware that there was an attempt to basically like move Richard Allen from the situation that he was in? You know, Liggett says yes. Um, and he asks him if he's ever visited Westfield. Um, no was the answer for that. Um, and he was moved to Wabash in December of 2023. Oh, it's good to see you. Thank you for doing this. No, you're welcome. Thank you guys for coming and listening. Like, it is so much. It's so overwhelming. I'm not even kidding you guys. Like, it took time to like decompressed from this trip. I hope that makes any sense, cuz like it's just a big huge thing. Like there is it's like this energy. I don't even know how to explain it to you guys, but it's like an energy thing. Um the energy is just is has been so different each time that I have gone out to go for this case, like going to court. It's been insane, honestly. Okay, I need to take just a second if I can. So you guys give me just a minute. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, so the energy that every single time that I go out there to the court hearings in Carroll County or in Fort Wayne, it has been absolutely just interesting. Um, I think one of the things to remember the most, like, is that no matter whether somebody thinks that uh, Richard Allen is guilty or whether they think that he's innocent, I think the most profound thing that everybody needs to remember is that each and every single one of us are here as a united front for one reason. And that one reason is to see that there is justice for two girls, Abby and Libby, to know that whoever it was that committed these atrocities against these poor young girls are held accountable and that somebody um you know that somebody is held accountable for their actions and what has been done to those girls, because what was done to them was absolutely it, I have no words for the things that have been done to those children. I have no words for the things that like you see and that it just I don't. I just it's so much. Um and so like a lot of people like get along, a lot of people don't get along, things like that. Um and I just it really fucking sucks when people don't get along. It really does. But I think that this, like I said, the saving grace here is that whether like you think he's guilty or he's innocent, everybody's here because everybody wants to see justice for the girls. And that's what I really like. Everybody has one common goal together. Um, but it was so bad. Like I was so exhausted from all of this. Like you have to like really you have to decompress so badly. Um, and yeah, I think we all should be kinder to each other. Definitely. That was one thing that I noticed this time that I did not that I have not seen in the past. So like in the past when I've gone to like the different hearings and stuff, um the tension was so bad between people, right? Like you could cut the tension with a knife. This time it was much calmer. The people were a lot kinder to each other. Um it was definitely easier to deal with when it came to that situation. Not saying that there still isn't people who aren't at odds with each other, but definitely this time everybody was much kinder to one another. Um, so yeah, we'll get back to my notes. I'm sorry. So they talked about that Liggett never visited Westfield and that um Richard Allen was moved to Wabash in December of 2023. So they were talking about for the hearing that they were going to go over to the motion to suppress, which was meaty, the motion, another motion to suppress, and a motion for admissibility. Um, so Liggett indicates that he's never been to either Westfield or uh, West Westville. He's never been to Westfield. He's never been to Wabash. He's never visited any of uh, the facilities that Richard Allen has been held at. Judge Jessica said, "Oh my God, I'm an idiot. I couldn't get the live to open. I'm sorry, honey. You're not an idiot. It'll be okay. You'll get there. I promise." Um, that's happened to me too. Yeah. And so, Liggett was there on the stand, and he was saying that he was in support of the request to move the safekeeping order. Um, he said that, he had spoken with the um, sheriff of Cass County. Basically, they had talked about the logistics of housing Richard Allen. Um, and he essentially understood that he would be responsible for uh, the custody of Richard Allen. And he said that even though it hadn't happened yet, that they could take care of all of the needs for the housing and the transportation, but that they would need assistance with an extra trooper and a vehicle for transport. And but Liot says, we've got it to where we can get all of these issues worked out. And so they were asking if they saw, Liggett, if he saw any circumstances at Wabash that put RA in danger, and he said no, he didn't see anything. That the moving logistics would be fine. Um, he said that if moved to Cass County, he trusted that the accommodations would be acceptable. He said that there were 150 beds in a state of art facility over at Cass County. Um, so let's see. It says under normal circumstances, problem inmate medical. Um, so they were wondering if the safekeeping order could still be in place and change from the Department of Corrections to Cass County. It's working now. Laugh out loud. Thank you for your support in these trying times, right? We all need it. All of us. Um, so they also spoke about that if he came to Carroll County, one of the downfalls that they had at Carroll County was that they had no cell for solitary confinement. Um, and all they had was a padded cell and a turtle suit that they could put him in if necessary. So there were concerns for the safety and housing, and they felt like the safekeeping would still be kind of necessary, but there would be no preference in housing. Um, Nick was asking that the medical and mental health issues still be addressed and provided by the Department of Corrections. And Liggett says, I don't care where he's housed as long as he still has the safekeeping order. They said that Richard Allen's contact with others had been completely cut off. Um, in May 2024, Liggett had a deposition. Um, and they spoke about like the confinement uh, time. Hold on one second. I think one of the doggies is trying to take somebody's dinner away from them. Give me 1 second. save you. Come on, Poet. Come on. Come on, Poet. I'll save you. I'll save you, Poet. Come on. Come on, Poet. I'll save you. Hold on. Nope, don't step on the computer. Okay. All right. Poet. Okay. Here, come sit down, Poet. You come sit down. Sit. All right. Thank you, Poet. Poet. Chelsea said hello. You gonna say hi? Okay, so Poet's back visiting. My brother ended up taking him from when we had rescued from the roommates and stuff. And so Poet's here. He's doing much better. He's in much better spirits. Obviously, you can see, but now he's settled down. So awesome. Okay. So, yeah, Richard Allen's contact had been definitely cut off with others. And they had talked in a deposition with Liggett about the rules of solitary confinement and the standards that were adopted by the Sheriff's Association. And they had basically adopted the same standards as the Department of Corrections. So in the Department of Corrections, if you have a individual who is placed in solitary confinement, they have a maximum time that they're supposed to be in solitary confinement. So the solitary confinement is not supposed to go after 30 days. If they have to do past a 30-day past the 30 days, they are supposed to have what is known as an administrative hearing. And then in the administrative hearing, they discuss, how many more days they think this person needs in segregation, things like that. But again, right away, there wasn't an administrative hearing done. They did eventually have an administrative hearing, but as far as we know at this point, they hadn't had one. So they said that somebody that is left in solitary confinement can be a danger to themselves. And they wanted to know if he would be in solitary confinement in Cass County. And yes, he would be in segregated confinement, except over at Cass County, because they have a newer state-of-the-art facility. He would still they have access to a day room. So of course, Poet knows which parent has all the poetry. Aw, thank you. So yeah, so there would be that going on. So they have Exhibit A is put in for an affidavit from the sheriff of Cass County named Edward Schroeder, just to show that he had communicated with Liggett. He points out that Cass County is an acceptable place to house Richard Allen. And basically, Rossi just kind of sums up the affidavit. And he asks Judge Gold to consider the language that had been used in the affidavit regarding the safekeeping order. There's a Indiana Code section 35-33-1- I didn't catch the last number for waiting trial statute. So they said that he's not a danger to himself or others. They don't see nothing reckless and standard. And each side potentially, they all practically understand that nobody can put him in general population. So they were asking to modify or vacate the safekeeping order. They talked about how this was litigated on June 23rd. Sheriff Schroeder had talked about that it was a small cage, that there was medical 12 times a day, and that mental health would be provided once a week. And Nick was opposed to that. He said, you attorneys just want him moved closer to your office. Um, and he wanted to know what has changed to warrant the change in the safekeeping order. He does not understand the defense's reasoning. Um, and he said, Rossi said that it was 200 miles from his office and 2 hours from Baldwin's office. That Allen has a Sixth Amendment right to counsel, that it's been difficult to gain access, especially also that there has been a burden of expense. There have been changes, and, Nick saying that he has no preference to where he's staying, but there was an objection. Um, Judge Cole wanted to know, if does the Indiana statute give the court the ability to modify or switch DOC uh, from DOC to county. She wanted to know if there was a case law or statute that supported this motion to vacate under the advisement. Um, so there was the motion to compel and the motion for the sanctions. Um, they talk about that there's 26 terabytes of data, 15 flash drives, a numerous amount of disks, all of that stuff. And the organization of the data and the timeliness is just not on point at all. Um, Ms. Auger said that each disk should be labeled, and the documents that they need should be labeled in some form, but nothing is like properly labeled. They're looking at a total of 48,701 files, and over 600 of those files are labeled just by numbers. There's no like name. There's no explanation as to what it is. None of that stuff. And so Nick had said that if they gave him all of the documents, that they would have to like give him all of the stuff back, and he would be able to find what they were looking for and then give it back to them, basically to show them like where it's at. They also Miss Auger was saying that they do not have round two of Google warrants. Um, all devices are a time something. So they had issued a warrant for Google. They said 18,000 devices times location. It responds with device Oh, snap. I didn't even realize I was muted, y'all. Holy guacamole. I'm so sorry about that. Um, oh my goodness. I am so sorry about that. So what did I can you guys tell me from where you heard? Wow. I don't even know how long I was muted for. This is turning out to be a crazy crap show, isn't it? Oh well. So if you can hear me, can you put a 1 in so that I know you can hear me? About 2 minutes. Okay. Um all right, I'm just going to start from where I was at, like the safekeeping order. Is that okay? Um so Rosie talks about the law safekeeping order, IC 3533-1 dash, I don't know the last number because I didn't catch it. So there's the waiting trial statute. There was no concerns of whether Allen was a danger to himself or others. There's like nothing reckless and standard. Um, both sides practically understand that he cannot stay uh, in general population. Like you can't put him in general population. That is not going to go. That is not going to happen. Um, they talked about modifying or vacating the safekeeping order. Um, they litigated that on June 23rd. Sheriff Schroeder had made an affidavit that talked about that there were small cells, medical 12 hours a day, mental health once a week, that's what they would be able to provide for him if he was in their facility. And Nick says, nope, I don't want that to happen. He said, you guys just want to move closer to your office. Like, what has changed to warrant a change to the safekeeping order? Nick doesn't understand the reasoning. And Rosie says, hey, listen, we're 200 miles from our client. Baldwin is 2 hours away. He has a Sixth Amendment right to counsel. It's difficult to gain access to our client, and there is the burden of expense. And there have been changes. And, even though Nick says there's no preference to where he stays, he objects still. Does statute give Okay, so Gold wanted to know, does the statute give the court the ability to modify the safekeeping order and switch it from the Department of Corrections to county? She wants to know if there was case law to support this motion. And she said that she would take the motion to vacate under advisement. So we're at the motion to compel for sanctions. Ms. Ajou gets up. There's 26 terabytes of data, 15 flash drives, several disks. She talks about how that the organization of the data and the timeliness of the receival of data is just not on point at all. She said each thing that they've received, like each disk has been labeled, each disk shall be labeled. Documents need some form of identification because there's nothing that's marked. Nobody knows what it is. So she said that there are 48,701 files, and over 600 of them have been just labeled only by numbers. So Nick then says, you have to allow him to have the docs to find what they're looking for. So, like, he wants the information back so that he can go through it, sift and find what it is that they're looking for, and then pretty much show them. They said that they didn't have round 2 of the Google warrants that were issued. So something about all devices in the area at the time, 18,000 devices times location. It responds with the device ID instead of names. So basically, like all of the information that they got back from all of the devices that were in the area, it does not give them like phone numbers or a person's name. So whenever they get information about different devices, if a device sparks their interest that they're looking for more information on, they're able to take that device ID and they can request more data about that subscriber without a warrant from Google. Um, so they had asked Nick that there was this report, this FBI geofence report that he had referred to that had been completed by the U.S. Marshals Service. They were looking for that report. Trooper Vito, November 20th, FBI, no geofence. There's been six spreadsheets of data originated by an FBI agent by the last name was the bank. And they needed that data turned over to them to search for the FBI files. So, alternatively, number one, they're asking the state to provide docs index. Um, Alternatively, reaching out, they wanted, to have some sort of order that says, hey, if you reach out within 7 days, that you respond within that 7 days. They've been having difficulties where they're looking for information. They've sent the thing. After 7 days, they're getting no answer. Then they're reaching out and being told that, hey, I don't have it. So that was like an issue there. Judge Jessica says, where will Rick play basketball? Mm-mm-mm-mm. Okay. Um, so they have a problem with the timeliness. So there's a sergeant from Cecil ISP uh, who is doing work with the raw data, and he needs like more stuff to deal with the raw data. He still doesn't have the report and evidence need to turn over for the expert. They were asking um, that the report that was completed by Mr. Cecil be turned over to them by August 13th. Um, and then there was a summary of requests they put in for Exhibit B to be put in. Number one, because of daily investigation. Number two, drove to Georgia to obtain the photo verified by what is that word? Anyway, so the point of it was that they obtained a photo that was provided by Ryan Bouchier. He had called and made a tip on April 12th, 2017. And Baldwin had to drive to Georgia to go retrieve that specific photo and some other information or whatever. What are you doing, sweetie? You getting more comfortable? It's all right. So they How in the world did I get muted again? My goodness. He may have hit the thing while he was moving around. Okay. So yeah, so they needed I don't know where I was at, but there was still a report that they needed from an officer, Cecil, um, and he was still working with raw data. Oh, I leaned back and it muted immediately. I'm sorry. Okay, gotcha. Um, so yeah, so they needed that report to continue to get the raw data out of um yes, he was driving to Georgia. The last that we heard, he was driving to Georgia, and apparently like he retained that information. He retained that photo. Um so he drove to Georgia to obtain the photo. Um and Baldwin paid for his own transportation. Um and the state is claiming that they don't have like the photo that or the tip that was turned in by Mr. Bashir. They don't have that information. And the defense was saying like this information wasn't even turned over to them. Um, they had to go get it. So the state had possession of the info and they turned to fill it over, basically, is what the defense had said. And they were told about, the different items and photos on the social media. And so they spoke to Holman about following up, but nothing, they heard nothing. Um, so now they're saying that the Indiana State Police said that they can't even find the original report of Bashir calling in. Rebecca Ann, the state seems to not have a lot of things. Yeah, they seem to not, like it's, they don't have anything. Like he says, we don't have things. So like during one point, um, during this whole situation, he was like, I can't, the defense has to understand that I can't give them something that I don't have. I can't give you what I don't have. So, um, yeah, Nick said, I cannot be compelled to give you what I don't have. And he doesn't think that Baldwin should be reimbursed for the cost of having to go grab said evidence. Um, so there was some raw data uh, that were ran through two separate reports for the phone for Libby. Okay, and it gets generated. They said that they're working on phone extractions and they're working on trying to get the raw data for the phone extracted reports. Um, so Miss Ajou asks, or Ajay, OJ. Yeah, they said like OJ, but OJ. Okay. Um, asks that any new evidence turned from either opposing side uh, be addressed within 7 days, basically. At Chelsea, I think BNR, either his or Rosie's investigator, went out there for 2 to 3 days in order to interview, investigate the case. There is other stuff to be uncovered that state never turned over. Yeah, that's pretty much like what the gist of that one was. So yeah, OJ is saying, hey, listen, like if there's any new evidence, it needs to be turned over to the opposing side within 7 days. Both parties need to disclose exhibits by October 1st so that they can save time for trial instead of wasting time trying to figure out what they're doing and what's going on, which is, understandable because we did see during the hearings, like especially on the second day in the afternoon when the Dr. Walla was being cross-examined, like going through cross-examination by Miss Diener. One thing I found to be very frustrating um, is that there was like long pauses in between. So it's like Miss Senior would go to ask her a question, um, and then she would go back to her table and she would go dig through the different exhibits, obviously, that she had until she came upon what it was that she was looking for. She'd grab it, she'd walk over to, Miss Walla. Oh, do you recognize this? And it drug on forever because it made me feel like she was looking for the things that she needed right then and there instead of having it ready to grab almost, immediately. If you know that you're going into this line of succession of questions, have that stuff ready to like pick up and go with. There was a lot of time just sat there spent locating things and reading, and it's really frustrating. It was really frustrating in my opinion. um so uh Mr. Baldwin was asking to be reimbursed for the full amount out of pocket. It was $12,640.34. As far as the sanctions went, Nick said, you know, give it to them the way that they have it, open it, inspect it, you know, tie it where, you know, tie it to where the stuff goes to P drive. Um, and basically, he wanted to table the sanctions thing for later. 12K is a lot of money, and I'm not sure what all they did, but I know it had to have been more than just retrieve that photo because they were talking about that there was other information that they were getting as well. So I'm not really sure what that information is, but $12,640.34 is quite a large amount to incur uh, for information. So um, they wanted to talk about Exhibit One, which was the motion to compel earlier this year that had been denied without a hearing. Um, they were talking about April 16th and 23rd. There was a zip drive that was in separate files for easy access. They wanted to see if the evidence existed, and they, you know, are responsible to comb and find through. So that was the thing. Nick was like, I'm not responsible for combing through all of this evidence and marking it and doing the work for them. They need to be the ones to do it. Um, and I don't think that that's what they're asking for at all. They're just asking for some semblance of identification and the items that they're receiving. They want to know like where they can find it, and it's not happening. Nick's giving it like, oh, I don't want to have to do it for you. You guys can do it. Just got here. Rescue All Dogs. How's my foot? It's doing better today. It's good to see you. Um, I know that you. Oh my goodness, you guys! We had such a like riot of joking about stuff. Rescue All Dogs definitely gave me the business about my foot. So, in case anybody doesn't know, I have been going to these hearings with a broken foot. Um, So like I broke it the day before the Westerman hearing. Um and it was funny because Rescue All Dogs was at that hearing, and I had just broken it the day before. And we get to this hearing, and she's like, weren't you wearing that boot the last time that I saw you? And I was like, it's only been 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, I have to have the boot on for like 6 to 8 weeks. She's like, you're really milking that boot, right? Like, it was hilarious. Um, Aaron says, I think they didn't go to Georgia for Bashir, but also talked to the police there about the color boy currently on the run from the law, specifically about jeans he bought. Hmm. I don't know. That's not something that I know about, but could very well be, Aaron. Uh, so they're also talking about, there was a discovery deadline that had been passed on November 1st, 2022. So, of course, they're still going over, like, hey, listen, we're still receiving these items, we're still going through items. And a lot of it uh, that they're still currently receiving or things that are currently transpiring when it comes to those records. So, um, again, they're still receiving phone calls and jail recordings that have gone on and transpired and video of Mr. Allen. And we'll get on to that like just a little bit later because they go into deeper context about the phone calls and the jail hearing. Um, and again, the state was saying, we don't have this photo that was obtained from Georgia from Mr. Bashir, and we don't believe that we should be held financially responsible. He doesn't think that that should happen at all. He does not think that there should be um, any reimbursement given. Hi, I have Apophis. Hello, welcome. I am on the mend. Rescue all dogs. Thank you. The color green, you mean, right, Aaron? Right? Okay, so he's like, I don't have this photo. I don't have this information. We should not be held responsibly, financially responsible to go back over that. Um, so supplement new discovery from DOC prosecution gave the defense everything, including oh, discovery from the documents. Okay, so Nick's like, you guys have everything. Everything. I gave you all of the discovery. I've given you um, all of the phone pings. I've given you all of the extractions. He's like, hell, I've even given you guys all of the tips. Right. Um, so then they had another second motion to compel. Um, other motion, second motion, second motion to compel. There was one that was filed on April 3rd, and then something that was filed on April 26th. Um, and they're talking about like the standard operations of the standard operating procedures and the chain of custody. Again, they're talking about the amount of information. We're talking about the 26 terabytes of information that have been separated into different files, assuming, they have to assume that out of this 26 terabytes of information, that there is absolutely something here that is exculpatory. Um, and the defense was asking to admit evidence that exonerates the defendant. Um, so they refer to a case known as Jester versus State, and they refer to that for sanctions minimal on effective evidence. Um, they're talking about the phone dump again and again. Nick says, I don't think that he should be reimbursed. Um, Nick thinks that the motion to compel is moot and that it should be dismissed, and that again the appropriate sanctions that should be continued. So they're talking now about If GBI did a peer review of the investigation in 2018, would they have copies of the missing interview? See, that's what I would have thought too. I is that they would have the copies of the missing interviews and all that stuff, but basically they're saying like that's one thing that they've been talking about like through all of these different hearings is that they don't have like these reports from the FBI. So you would think that there would have been like a secondary report made and then stored. Um especially if it was conducted by the FBI, right? But like they're pretty much saying that they don't have like anything. Like they don't have those secondary reports. There's nothing there. Like there was nothing like written pretty much in the first place on some of this stuff. Like it's really just strange. Maybe Baldwin was chit-chatting with GBI. Could be. Yeah, I hypothesized, or at least they would have noted that there were missing interviews in their review. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they just keep like every single time that we go to court, there's always something else that's missing. It's always something else that couldn't be located. It's always something else that I don't know. It's so frustrating. So they were talking about Cellbrite extractions for um, Libby's cellular device. And of course, they said that they completed the original Cellbrite extraction in 2017, but then they completed another Cellbrite extraction in 2019. Um, there was something else as data that should have been, the data for the Cellbrite extraction should have been disclosed in 2022, but nobody provided it to the defense until September of 2023. Um, and the state is saying that this is the state's data made doc sent. And then I wrote Chris Azil needs presentation organized fashion so that they can locate. Um, and they're asking that he provide whatever it is that he needed to provide as far as the phones by August 13th. Um, then it says something was returned from the state on November 30th. Uh, Two Google warrants. Dave Vito used info gathered in his reports. Motion to compel sanctions are under advisement. Kayla says, I call that shady. I believe it was August of 2017 that they noticed everything was gone. Yes, that's how I took it, and that's how I feel about it too. They knew everything was gone in August of 2017. And this is why it's why I really think it's super important to go back through all of the different hearings and stuff that we've had, because all of these tie in together. All of it ties in together. And I want to go back and like pluck the different things that I had noticed because I kind of spent yesterday um, and the day before just kind of like sifting back through like information, like my notes, transcripts, and stuff like that. Like, I really feel like all of this is important, and I'm going to put something together as to why. Just things that I noticed that I wanted to point out, but there's so much to get through here right now that like that's the next kind of like project thing. But there were some things that I totally did notice. I thought you weren't coming on. Watched a yard cleanup video. Back for replay. Oh, I was here, Crystal Blue. Um, I I was supposed to come on at 6 o'clock, and I fell asleep. I took a nap. I got up at 6:30, and I was supposed to get up at 5:45. So that was my bad. I'm totally late. Y'all, like I have been having like a heck of an ordeal this week. Like
I normally am not like this discombobulated and this like off track. So, um, so after this whole situation, they have a sidebar, and we go to lunch. They say, "Listen, we're going to go to lunch. We're going to come back at 1:20 p.m. and then we're going to start banging out like all of this uh, rest of this stuff." Um, and would GBI have created their own document trail? I would imagine that they should have. They should have, like, anything that they should have like done as far as interviews and all of that stuff. They should have, like, there should be some sort of documentation. Somebody knows something. Um, so we get in and we start about 1:30. They start with the second motion to dismiss, and Nick asks if it was possible to reopen the motion to compel. He said that he had talked to Vito during lunch. Um, so the state wanted to admit Exhibit 2 and 3, um, and there was no objection. State's Exhibit 2 consisted of a supplemental report written by Vito. It says 118 as attachment, 118 supplement, page 3, first page attachment. So then Exhibit 3 is a discovery receipt from January 30th, 2024. Attachment, considered these in the motion to compel, is what it says. The state asserts that they have turned over everything. OJ will go through the document concerning the Google motions, uh, and they will review it. Um, they want to review the second motion to dismiss. Um, State's Exhibit E was admitted with no objection, and this exhibit consisted of an email between Jay Abbott and Doug Carter concerning early information in the investigation. So while they're talking about this, they're specifically talking about a reference to page 4 in the email. There's a mention of somebody by the name of Greg Massive. And this email said that it was sent to 1717 at 7:02 p.m. And they are specifically referring to who they call suspect number 6. This is Brad Holder. There are indications that he is linked with a VT squad, Vinlanders, crime scene photo victimology, possible ritual on page 6. Then they refer to page 8. Um, and this is all still on 2/17/2017 and page 12. So it says there's another email of Abbott, Jay Abbott, and Doug Carter. It says, as of right now, working straight through, worked the scene, exhausted every technique. So there's Exhibit F, which was pushed to be admitted with no objection. So it's a list of phone extractions in alphabetical order. State and county police, uh, 101 documents. Okay, yeah, 101. Okay, 6 of the 101 documents. So this is what we were talking about um, on the live on Teresa. So Baldwin says, okay, like basically he wants to give you this idea, right, about like what they're dealing with these phone extractions. So they come in and they are carrying the stack of papers, I shit you not, like that high. Okay? Like he just they put it on the table and this shit was like that. Like I'm not even kidding y'all. Like it was big. And so there were 6 stacks side by side of all of these things. And so Baldwin tells Judge Goal, you know, I'm not going to enter all of this paper into evidence on you. I'm not going to do that. He said, but this is an example of what we are looking at
with the phone extractions, right? So they talked about the 101 extractions that they had received from all of the devices in the area. And okay, so the stack was two stacks foot tall. Then there was a 4-inch binder full of these stacks. And just these stacks alone, it says, consisted of 6 extractions provided by the state. And I'm telling y'all, like, this stuff was like thick, like thick. And he said, well, some of, like, a couple of these extractions out of like this whole 101 may have been fruitful. Like, a couple of them may have been fruitful. The rest of it was absolutely useless. It had nothing to do with any of this concerning the case. So they admit Exhibit G, which is a motion to dismiss. And they talk about for the motion to dismiss, the reason that they believe that the motion to dismiss should be granted is because obviously um, the videotape of the interviews that were messed over. So of course you have to remember, back in the March 18th hearing, we're talking about the missing evidence of like videotapes and like interviews. So they were saying, these interviews were unable to, so they had video, right? Like, they had a visual video of what they saw with the person, but the audio was gone. Um and then some of the interviews were just gone and not located at all, basically. So they wanted to talk about the videotaped over memorialized presentation, and they wanted to retain what they had. Um, okay, so they pull in this big TV that they had there, because they wanted to show us a video. And so the video, they turned it on, and it was um, Brad Holder. He was sitting at a table. Um, they are obviously like talking to him. Um, so yeah, so this is what they're talking about. So they wanted to memorialize this presentation that was retained in their interview. So Holder had believed, that Logan would talk to Abby, but that, he kind of never really met him himself. He never really met her himself. Brad believed that, Logan may have met Abby once. Like, mostly, I think he had tried to indicate that they were mostly talking like online for the most part. So it says Christopher Goat and Special Agent Adam Poole. So they go to play this videotape, and it's Defense's Exhibit H. The interview is on August 30th, 2023. So how did the phone get from the high school to the other side of Monon High Bridge in 43 seconds? It didn't. It didn't. That's something that is really interesting that they talk about with the phones. Um, oh my goodness. Like, when they were talking about the phone moving, it was really interesting because they had mentioned that it had started at the high school before it had made it to the Monon High Bridge. Like, I don't know. It's interesting, to say the least. Um, so they wanted to show this videotaped interview that they had conducted with Brad Holder. They were only showing the points from 5 minutes and 25 seconds to 6 minutes and 25 seconds.
There was no objection. Um, so in the video that they're showing, Brad's sitting at the table. He's talking about, he wasn't sure which girl, you know, that it was that his son was talking to. He thinks that it was Abby. Um, he thinks that she was 13 years old. Um, and then they show May 2nd, 2024, a deposition, um, lines, I guess, 19 to 21. And so they asked Brad Holder how many times that he had met Abby, and he says twice in his answer. Um, and then so he says, I met her maybe twice. Once it was maybe like 30 minutes to an hour because I had supervised the kids talking. We had went over to Patrick Westfall's house. The kids go over to the park. You know what I mean? I'm not really intent, but I know that he's over there. He's talking to her. You kind of keep your eye on, but you don't go over there and, you know, whatever is what he said. So page 21. So they're basically saying, so you chaperoned um, Logan and Abby at the park while, you guys were at what Patrick Westfall's. He's like, yeah, we went to Patrick Westfall's, and then we went over to the park. He went over to the park. So they wanted to admit Exhibit I, deposition of Brad Holder, and that was admitted without objection. So then they go to Exhibit J, which is the crime scene photo, which is admitted, and it was referenced as the side by side. Um, Obviously, that is the side by side where they're showing like the hand of the photo of the rune of on Brad Holder's picture, and then the coinciding rune that correlates to whichever girl was on that particular side by side. I want to say that it was Abby. Yeah, yeah. So they referred to the side by side, and then Exhibit K, they said it's the side by side of Abby Williams, and then the hand um, posted to Facebook. Exhibit L. Okay. Exhibit L is Abby Williams' bodies. There's a painting. Okay, it says Abby Williams body painting of Abby's nearly 1 year after the bodies were found. Okay, so it's not necessarily the body of Abby, but they were talking about how closely depicted. It was the upside down hangman, like the tarot upside down hangman or whatever, that was said to have been painted by Brad Holder. They said that that particular photo had been painted almost a year to the day of when Abby's body was found. Um, so they want to lay the foundation to objecting to Brad Holder's painting, and the span as far as the foundation. Um, Brad Holder looks. So they show Brad Holder a copy of this painting during his deposition, and he does admit, like, yes, this is my painting. Yes, I made it. Whatever. Um, and then we move on to Roland Richard Purdy, which is an ISP investigator. Um, so this investigator started to check out um, into the photos and stuff that were posted on Brad Holder's page, even though he was um, cleared. I guess they said that he was cleared, but he checked out the Facebook page anyway. And this guy said that he had not seen this particular photo before the deposition. Um, it says On the left side was Libby's body stick formation, same stick formation that was on Holder's page. And he doesn't remember seeing the upside down hangman photo. So he doesn't remember seeing the upside down hangman photo. Um, but he did believe that he recognized the other photo, which was the mimicked crime scene photo depicted on the Facebook page. Um, so that photo that they're talking about of the mimicked crime scene of the friends faking, whatever, was posted in 2012. And that was admitted into evidence. Uh, and Luttrell says, objection that this particular questioning was outside of the scope for the witness. Um, Approximate time frame: assisted crime scene investigative, March 2017 to March 2018. So then its upside down L was only made from a thin line press, not the whole palm, and the line going down was a drip. Why didn't the whole line drip, not just one end? They were talking about the placement, like the way that your hand would have to be when you were putting it on there, from my understanding. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. Hmm. So Exhibit 17 was Odin Hanging Tree of Life. Exhibit 18 was page 89. Moved to they moved to admit Exhibit 18 because of Holder admitted to the photo. Did Exhibit L write up exhibit reference to tarot card? So they admitted the documents, the tree on the right from the crime scene, Libby's blood on the tree, stick formation found on his Facebook page. So Exhibit R was a screenshot provided to the defense, the Paganist Ritual 2016 in Fort Wayne. Um, they're talking about, when the video where Patrick Westfall is placing an item into a tree. Um, and they said that Holder, shown on the video, they're talking about pages 79 and 82 um, in the deposition, where once they show Brad Holder that video, that he does indicate that it is Patrick Westfall that is pushing to, or not pushing, but putting the item into the tree. Um, did you make yourself your way in here too, Mr. Bernard? Okay, you have to chill. Okay, bless you. Bless you again. Okay. Um, so R was admitted. P Facebook post by Brad Holder after he killed the girls, which was the meme, the Goodfellas type meme, real friends help real friends hide a body. They admitted that. Um, Looking for BH reference and then withdrawn. Um, and no objection, move on. Luttrell says uh, they asked the court to take judicial notice of the Frank's memorandums 1 through 4 and the filing dates. Judge Cole indicates that, the Frank's memorandum 1 and 2 had been previously denied. What? What is it? Do you have something to say, Mr. Bernard? No? Okay. Um, So no objection move. Court has to take it under judicial notice. Franks 1 through 4. Franks 1 and 2 had been previously denied. Kevin Murphy um, was a police officer with Beverly Shores. Uh, oh, he gets up on the stand. Okay, so Kevin Murphy gets up on the stand. He indicates that he was an officer previously, or he was a police officer for Beverly Shores. Um, Porter County, Indiana Courts, ISP, June 95 to July 2021. Uh, so he's, saying that he's been there 26, 27 years with no write ups. And they asked him, "Did you investigate Delphi?" And he indicated that, in fact, he had. Um, and they asked him how he got involved, and he said that he had reached out to Holman. And at first, Holman did not want him to be involved. He told him, like, no, we don't need your help or whatever. He said that he finally got a call a couple days later on the 19th that said that, we do need your help, basically. Um, and he had worked on the case with Liggett and Hammond. He had stopped working on the case on October 1st, 2019. Um, and oh yeah, so he was working to go on the FBI uh, task force. And in the meantime, while they were processing some like documents and stuff like that for him to like finish up, like he's basically like working on Delphi. Um, so Rochelle said it's upside down L made from the thin line pressed out the whole palm, and the line going down was a drip. Why didn't the whole line drip, not just one end? Aaron says, in one news video I saw recently, they had stopped the video and mirrored the F tree behind Bridge Guy on the right side. Some media people obviously know the truth. Oh. Um, Rochelle says, blood would pulsate from the jugular. There would have been lots of splatter. Move the bodies. I've hypothesis says, move the bodies, which is what I've said early on. Kayla says Michelle After Dark did a video trying to recreate the F tree using just her hand and was unable to duplicate. She had to paint it on. They were saying, okay, so this is what they were saying is like if the person is Aurora, are you making your okay, thank you. So they said that as the person was laying down, it's the way that the fingers would have had to like it would have had like the fingers would have had to been a certain way like you would have had to it was really weird, but they said that they were finally able to recreate it. Why would the guy have gone through all of this trouble to do the experiment with his own freaking blood and not recorded it, right? I agree. Good evening, Spinster. Welcome in. I hope you're doing well. So we're just all kind of like chit-chatting about the things that happen over the 3 days of hearings. Um, so going back to Murphy, guys. So Murphy says that he was hi Dexter. Murphy says that he was waiting to go to the FBI joint task force terrorism stuff, Um, Brad Holder was the subject of interest early on, not considered a suspect by in some circles, but Kevin Murphy had said that yeah, in our circle he was indicated as a suspect. Um, Specifically a suspect with Ferenczi and Click. Um, and then it says Jay Harper, Lafayette Post reports supervision. Greg Ferenczi reports to Murphy. Ferenczi's Facebook. Uh, Notice Okay, so Ferenczi would handle the Facebook connections, right? So he was pretty much the guy to like go through and like make the connections between people who knew one another and stuff like that. And Kevin Murphy had indicated that Mr. Ferenczi was looking at quite a number of people. And based on his notes and discussions, he had made multiple trips to Rushville. Um, and it says that there was an undeniable link to all activities. Okay. So, like here on this side, I have BHPWEFNS and JM. So that's the referral to the alleged connection between Brad Holder, Patrick Westfall, Elvis Fields, Ned Smith, and Johnny Messer. Um, so hold on. Hi, Diamond Eyes. Welcome in. So, what? No? Oh, I'm sorry,
I lost my
sweetheart.
$10 and was like, it just, I win on blackjack and then I go back to the roulette table after I win a little bit of money to make it back, and I just lose.
Well, you know what? That's okay. It's better luck next time, my dear. Better luck next time.
If you say so.
You can't win every time, can you?
I try.
I know you try. Okay. Guys, I'm gonna stop this live and I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna come back in and do like a secondary, like come back in and switch spots so that my husband can come in this room and I'm gonna go to another room. So I will be right back, guys.